Hello, I'm Simulated Irk and welcome to episode 42. This is Simulated Irk Train Simulator. We are at London King's Cross. We definitely are this time, unlike what I said on the previous episode where we were totally not at London King's Cross. In front of me is the Class 801 train. Basically, before it went into service. That's the scenario that we're operating today, direct from the Train Sim store within game. You can download this, you don't have to do anything to it. It is here, but it is looking rather vanilla at the moment. It's looking rather plain, because the way that we're running this scenario is if we are basically on a test run. So this is how the train would have been delivered before it went into testing, and then before it went to the operators. A few different operators of trains like this in the UK, and so each operator has their own name, where they run their trains and everything like that. We'll have a look inside the cab shortly. But we're here at London King's Cross, and as we pan across and up, we can see behind us is a HST high-speed train 43 class that we featured in the previous couple of episodes. So if you want to see how those trains run and how they look in a different couple of schemes, you can have a look at their simulatedgaming.com or indeed the Simulated Irk channel on YouTube. So let's go and have a look at our train. Just go down the platform and have a look at our train before the test run. Now this train is a dual mode train, so when it is under the wires, as we are here at King's Cross, it can basically run as an electric train. In years gone by, if it was a loco haul train, let's say if it was going from here at King's Cross and it was going up to Scotland, for instance, the wires only go so far in some cases, depending on where you're going. And so if it was a loco haul train, you would have to change locos when the wires ran out, or if you were the high-speed train like the one behind us, which is a diesel train, you'd be running the entire trip because you didn't want the passengers to change from one train to another, or you didn't want the delays as you were changing from an electric loco to a diesel loco, so you'd be diesel the entire way. What this train can do, and it's going to be, I believe, similar to the regional trains that I'll be able to see in a few years here in Australia, is that the whole train will be able to do the entire journey. Electric train under the wires, pantograph comes down when the wires end, and then it basically runs as a diesel train thereon. So we'll have a look at our internal view. This is our internal view. Again, this is before it's been delivered to the operator, so it's looking very generic. At this point, this could be like a demonstration train where you get train operators in to come and say, hey look, come and have a look at the train, and then decide how you want to outfit it. So we'll go to the cab. It's a very detailed cab. Give you a basic run-through of it. We've got our main, what I would call my train operating screen, or my train management computer in front of us, the screen including the time, various functions of how to manage and monitor the train. electric and non-electric, pan up, pan down, run electric mode, so the train's already done that for us. Horn, driver safety systems, automatic train protection, and that sort of thing. Warning system, AWS. Now, I don't actually know if they would actually show this in the train simulator if it's capable of it, but in real life, this is your screen where you have a look at your train platform interface. So what we will do, we're not going to load any passengers because we're just taking the trip up to Peterborough. We're just trying to get there. So we'll go now and let's go for a ride. First engine forward, knowledge, the AWS. Operate all these buttons yourself without necessarily using the on-screen display or the hardware which I'm using. I just find it simpler that way. Just going through the tunnel now. So with the power brake controller, sometimes it's very hard to find where that neutral, or rather off position is, where you're not powering or you're not braking. Low speed at the moment, just leaving King's Cross. So we'll just stay in cab view at the moment because we're going through the tunnel and there's low speed sections. So we're heading up to Peterborough on the East Coast Main Line. 76 miles. Basically an hour of running. So what we're going to do on this episode is that we're going to test the train basically before it's delivered, and then in the next episode we're going to take delivery of the train with the new operator. Whoops, a little bit over the limit there, just waiting to get into the 45 zone now. The whole train's now in the 45 zone, so we can crank things up now. It's a little bit slow out of places like King's Cross. Very common to be a little bit slower going in and out of your major terminals. So what we'll do, we'll go outside a little bit later on when we get up to some decent speed. So 45 miles an hour is the speed limit, so we'll put a little bit more power on. I should also point out that this is my first time recording an episode in the new Simulated Erg studio late at night. So this is still a new experience, still getting used to things at Simulated Erg HQ and Erg Tower. Been in Erg Tower now for a couple of months. Had the studio in various levels of readiness for about the last month. So 65 now, we can get up to some speed. We are on a test run, so we don't have to worry about stopping at stations, etc. We're not going to do anything over the speed limit on this run. What can happen with new trains, they can have certain sections of lines that are ones that are real stretches of line, but or real sections of track. But what they'll do, they'll have certain areas where they know that they can go over the speed limits for testing purposes. Sometimes they'll make sure that there's no trains running in that total section. And they'll say during the testing the driver can go over the speed limit to test certain things, ride problem and all that sort of stuff. But what we're going to do, we're going to stick to the speed limits on the screen in front of us. So we're just coming up to 80 miles an hour now, 75, so we'll just go back and we'll shut off and we'll just let the train roll for the moment. So during the testing of new trains, there's a lot of different tests that they have to do, and basically before we even get to the point where we are now in this scenario, there's a lot of static testing that would be done to make sure that all the train systems are operating as designed. Now we can go up to 90, so we can crank things up that a little bit further. So even before the train gets to this point, they make sure that all the systems are operating as they should. Then they'll get it out onto the main line, which is where we are now, and shut off again, so we stay under that 90. So they make sure that everything's working in the depot environment, in a static environment, make sure everything's working as it should first, and then they'll slowly introduce it onto the tracks and make sure that there's no faults with now we can go up to 95, so we'll increase the speed that a little bit further. Make sure that there's no interference with the signalling system, that everything on board the train interacts with the network the way that it should. And then, especially with the first few trains, the process is a lot more vigorous than with later trains, because build a train as much as you want, and you can simulate it in the simulator. You can have it on a test track or whatever, but when you get it out onto the actual network that it's going to be running on, you might find things may not work as planned. So you have to go through a lot of testing at slow speeds to start with, and then at track speed, which is basically what we're doing now. So in a moment we'll be able to run 100 miles an hour, and then of course more high speed testing. And there's a whole group of people that they are obviously not going to show it here on this train, but there's a whole heap of people back on the train, and they've got the train wired up, and they're from the comfort of the passenger section, they're monitoring, because they don't need 50 million people in the driving cab, so they're monitoring different things. So somebody's job might be just to monitor the speed, just to make sure that what's being indicated to me now is actually what's happening. For instance, they'll be monitoring things like, especially with the more complicated signaling systems, to make sure that the signaling systems interacting perfectly with the train. So it might be one guy's job just to monitor, one person's job just to monitor the train speed. There might be another person's job then monitor the braking, how the train's braking in various ways. With other people looking at ride quality, suspension, high speed running that we're starting to get into now, 115 miles an hour. Things like how the train goes over turnouts, how it goes around curves, that sort of thing. Is the train working as designed? And then they'll test it under different scenarios as well. Okay, at the moment it's daylight, it's clear, and everything's good. How's a train running at night? How's it running under different weather conditions? What happens if the track's a bit breezy because it's been raining, especially if it hasn't rained for a while and all of a sudden there's a bit of rain. Is the wheel slip system, is that all working? Is that all working as designed? Lots of things that they'll be looking for. And then what happens if the unthinkable happens? And well, it's not really unthinkable because it does happen. If, for instance, you have to use heavy braking or emergency braking, what happens there? Is the train doing what it should be, what it's designed to be doing in those scenarios? All these different things that people at the back are looking for. And this is of course assuming that the train's operating as designed. Everything's okay. And then what happens, for instance, if you are down to say half power? For whatever reason, you've had a failure. They can simulate failures, they can actually make failures to see, okay, well this scenario, this is the scenario, we think this should happen. What actually happens in this scenario? And then it's a case of getting seat time and making sure that the train can run trouble-free for however long they decide before it can actually go into service. So you want to make sure that there's no little teething problems. You hope to have got all these little teething problems out, and no doubt there's going to be teething problems with a new type of train. You want to make sure that you get all these little teething problems out before you get the train into service. Then of course you've got the issue of driver training. A lot of it these days can be done in the simulator. And I'm talking proper motion simulators where it's a full-size version of what's in front of you. So you've got to bring your train crew up to speed before the train comes into service as well. So there's lots of little things that you have to consider when you're bringing a new train into service. Lots of test runs at the moment. Lots of things to think about, and this is the process that this train will have qualities in service in the UK now. But this is the sort of thing that the train operators would have been looking at the train manufacturing company and the operators of the network and the infrastructure, everything would have been doing during the testing phase. So let's go outside and have a look and see how the train looks from the outside. So one thing that this train has, which is a great advantage compared to the HST that we featured on the last episode, is that you don't have a whole power car where you have the driver and then you have the engine and everything like that, and then that's basically it. In the front and back carriage of this train, there is actually room to have passengers where, and that gives you a little bit more usable space for passenger options. You don't have effectively just a locomotive at each end. Probably wasn't the best time for that camera angle. So the point that I was making, in a HST or a similar type train, this front carriage that we're basically looking at would have just been basically the driver's cab and then the engine part that wouldn't have actually been usable for passengers. Whereas in this view, there's passengers using the back and the front carriage. Will just change the view slightly. So it's a pretty sweet looking modern unit, the 801 class, and this is 801-001. Now if you're new to Simulated Earth Train Simulator, on occasions such as this, I will go outside and show you what the train looks like from the outside, because there's we've got a tunnel for the moment. There's a lot of effort that is put into the external views such as this. Lots of effort, we're in a tunnel section at the moment. I don't know the tracks, I don't know when the tunnels are coming up. A lot of work that goes into the exterior, what the outside of the train looks like, what the outside of the universe looks like. Now, if I was using this basically as a real-life simulator, you don't care about this view, because this is not the view driving, because they're driving their train. On a real life simulator, you are only worried about the cab view. You're only worried about what the driver can see, what the driver's doing, what's coming up in front of them. But because this is my train simulator and I can do what I want basically, sometimes but not all the time, I do like to look at the outside world and have a look at simulated me driving the simulated train. Sometimes I think about with my real train that I like to be able to see me driving, and sometimes I watch other trains go by, and yeah, that's what I basically look like when I'm driving a train, when I see other people drive theirs. So we can go up to 125 miles an hour, which is we'll crank it up here now. As I said, I don't know the track, so I don't know if there's a section that goes above 125 miles an hour, and I don't know where they would actually do their testing beyond 125 miles an hour. But as you can see, it looks pretty sweet. imagine that this is fairly similar to what the train would look like. And it's such a good job of it looks so good. Still 48 miles away from Peterborough, about half an hour away from Peterborough. I'm not going to be picking any stops. Now, of course, in real life, if the drivers were to exceed the speed limit in testing, they have a set area, as I mentioned before, which is the area that they will do it. But what we're going to do while we're in the 125 mile an hour zone is we're going to crank it up and let's see how fast we can go. Oops. Crank things up. Now I'm going to ignore the full speeding thing. I'm on good drive mode anyway, so it's not as if I'm rolling career mode or anything. Up to 130 now. 138. Now in this scenario they would tell me how fast I am to go and not exceed that limit because they would have paperwork basically allowing them to do it. So 140 seems to be in the limit, just over 141. What they've been doing at this stage is, gee, we went to no scenery all of a sudden, and no wires all of a sudden. So we'll just shut off. Oh, gee, okay, came back, that was interesting. So I don't think that should have happened. Because I'm thinking, they should have had some sort of warning, so I could put the pan down, but that was just a computer glitch. Looks at it rather than, oh gee, we're in unwired territory. So we've been talking a lot about speed. Now let's imagine now we have to go straight into emergency brakes. What would happen? We'll go outside this one. Just have a look outside for the moment. Now you can imagine what sort of distance. So what we'll do, if we see a platform, I'm just going to put the train straight into emergency braking, and then we'll see the braking distance that we're talking about. So we'll go back up to the 140. That looks like it's a platform coming up. Sometimes this is what you might have to do, but this is also what they do in testing. Okay, a platform coming up. Emergency brake. Yep. probably feel a bit more violent than what it actually looks like on the screen. Okay, so we've arrived here. Now let's go outside. Here's our train. Everything looks sweet. Now, can we... Oh, my baby girl Meow's just decided to join me. Hello, baby girl. And of course she wants to sit right in front of me where I can't see the screen. So let's see if we can zoom out, see if we can actually see. I don't know if we can see it on that view. We're going to world free camera. Let's see if we can see how far back this station is. Now obviously if I was walking this, train protection and everything like that, and I wouldn't be able to walk this fast, but we're going to go back to the point that I've got no way of measuring this easily. So as you can see, as we're effectively running back. As you can see, it's quite some distance that the train's taken to stop. This is one thing that quote-unquote railway civilians sometimes don't get the concept of how long it actually takes a train to stop, even though you go straight into emergency braking like we have on that occasion in this scenario. We're starting to see the station now, I believe. Now, of course, on the train, in the testing scenario that we're running, they would be working out the distance that it should have, in theory, taken to stop, and the actual distance. Okay, so this is the station. I don't know who's coughing and what. Should probably go get that looked at. Okay, so we would have put on the emergency brake about here. And so you have a look at all that distance. What is the name of the station anyway? Easy. So if you have a look, the train would have been about here when the emergency braking started. About 130 miles an hour. Should really get that cough looked at, dude. There's nobody on the station, so I don't know who's coughing. Maybe it's me. So there's the signal, which is now at stop, of course, because our train is ahead. Kilo 741. Quite some distance, as you can see here. Now this, as I mentioned, is with full emergency braking. Now for passenger comfort reasons, if we knew we were going to stop, like for instance at that station, or we have certain brake markers and everything like that, that we would know, okay, we're got to stop at that station, this is how far back we're going to start braking, so we brake nicely and arrive nicely onto the platform and stop nicely and everything like that. But in that unplanned emergency scenario, travelling about 130, 135 miles an hour, and this is how long it can take to stop. And we can just start to see the back of our train now. These sort of things you can't easily do in the real world. This is the ultimate in controlled conditions. Alright, so there's the back of our train. So what I'm going to try and do now, put the pantograph down. Okay, the pantograph is now down. And we'll get back in the cab. And we'll see if we can run this in diesel mode. Get out of emergency brake. No, we can't. Maybe if I hit the pan down. Now, is there an engine start button? That's the question. Now, you would think I haven't seen it yet. It's like a an engine start. Or maybe the train just knows, I don't know. A snow brake? Oh, how detailed is that? Don't know how much we can actually click that, but we'll put the pen back up. So I thought there might have been something down here which would allow the train to operate in diesel mode now, but obviously not. Okay, so let's get back into it. Not bad sounding horn. Let's get back up to speed. See how long it takes us to get up to about 25 miles an hour. If you can sit here for, you know, your whole day and watch this one view only, maybe train driving is the thing for you. What I think they should do is when they're advertising for train driver positions and everything like that, is to sit somebody in the simulator for a little bit, and if they don't like the simulator, well, they're probably not going to like the real thing. It's the same with airlines and that sort of stuff. This is your only view that you will have. So we're starting to come in the countryside and urban crossings and that sort of thing. So we'll just go back down to track speed again. So if you like this sort of view, then you can concentrate on this sort of view for long times. That's the sort of thing that you need to be able to do as a driver. And there's a lot of people that I've met that, you know, think, oh yeah, that would be really good, and then you put them on a simulator and it's totally different to actually what, you know, even if they're experienced train drivers. It's one thing being on a train and being able to, you know, look out the window, get on your phone, read a book, do whatever, you know, have a sleep if need be. And there's another thing being up the front, just concentrating on the track ahead, even with the lot of drills that you've got and that sort of thing built into the train to help you. There's a lot of concentration that's involved, and sure, you can have a look at, you know, you can move to the left and the right a little bit and see, you know, see the world pass you by sort of thing. And this is a great thing that I love about it, is that you can, even though, you know, you might do this section all the time, you know, there's different things to see at different times of the day, different weather conditions, daytime, nighttime, sunrise, sunset, cloud, rain. Different times of the year, summer, winter, that sort of thing, different times that the train's running. So it's the same thing that you see, but it looks different. And then if you turn around and look, you know, you might be looking straight ahead keeping your eyes on the track, but you know, with your peripheral vision, you can see sort of hail bales. That's what I was trying to think. In the paddock on the right hand side there, you know, lots of little level crossings. You know, you can sort of looking out. And these sort of things, I'll just grab it over a little bit. We're still about 20 minutes away from Edinburgh. Just under 30 miles to go now. Cranking on 125 miles an hour. So what we'll be doing on the next episode is that we'll be taking a look and seeing what this train would look like in its delivered form. So different, when it's actually in service with its operator, and we'll do a scenario on the next episode on the same section of track. Maybe even a different time of day, different weather conditions. We'll see what happens in the next episode. There's so many resources out there. If you want to change the look of your game, you can do that. Just depends on how confident you are in terms of that. If you want your game to be heavily modified with skins and all that sort of thing, skins or mods, you might just be comfortable with what you can download via the game and let the game do all the work for you, so to speak. And that's totally fine. And I know that it's been basically a year since I did a lot of these episodes in Motor Crane Simulator, and a lot's changed in that time, and there's a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily know about because I might not have been looking for it. But we'll see in the next episode what can happen when you do some downloading and you download some skins and everything like that, and just how different this base train can look when it's all sticked up, so to speak. About that speed anyway, so that's fine. Let's go for a ride outside again. Did you miss me? Oh, the things that you can do in a simulated train compared to a real train. I went to the bathroom, and then it's been a while since I fed Meow, so I gave Meow some food. Went to the fridge, got a drink, came back, everything's still good. Now, of course, I can't do that on a real train. Yeah, just a little bit of fun there. Didn't necessarily want to pause the recording or anything like that, but you know, it's a good thing that in a simulated environment that I was able to do that. I actually remember quite a few years ago there was a whole group of us recording a roundtable podcast, and for once a month we get a whole group of people together. Some of those people might actually still be watching. Hello Shauna, hello Jen if you're watching. And what would happen is that we'd have some people in the studio, and we'd also have other people on Skype and that sort of thing, and just talk about what's going on in our lives, what's going on in the news, and that sort of thing. And it was just fun. We did it once a month. Towards I think the end of each month, we set aside a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and just got together and just a whole group of us, and a lot of the men podcasters talk about what's going on in their lives, their parts of the world. We had various people from various parts of the world come and join us, that sort of thing. And sometimes we go for a couple of hours or whatever, 4 hours or whatever. Split the episodes up into basically hourly chunks and that sort of thing. Just kept going. We weren't trying, from what I can remember, we weren't trying to break any sort of record or anything like that. We knew people that, one guy in particular Todcock will get News Central and also livery. He'd done 24-hour solo podcast with guest quoting, so we weren't competing to be sort of trying to do that sort of thing. But we were getting up there because, as I said, people floating in and out, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, without us realising it, we're like in the 11th hour. We're planning on going that long. Some people would go off, get some food, come back. There was one, and this is the reason that I bring the story up and how I went to the bathroom just then. I've got a headset on at the moment, and I've got a switch on my switch that goes into my audio box, so I can just use the microphone if need be. If I want to have a drink or a cough or whatever. That doesn't sound good. Am I going to what? Oh, we're coming in at Peterborough already. Hang on. So before we knew it, maybe this is warning us that we're coming into the station. Is it the AWS? I don't know what that noise is. Oh, we must be. We're coming up to some restricted signals here, so the train's doing a bit of brake. Oh, that would have been the automatic train protection kicking in. Because I wasn't following the braking curve and all that sort of stuff. Where have I heard and done that before? So I've got some restricted signals coming up. Okay. Do I need to reset anything again? No, it doesn't appear. So what does it? Hang on. It's thrown it into neutral, which is very strange. Why it would do that if you were continuing? I don't know why that would happen. So this is what happens when I tell stories, and I promise I will get to the point. We get to the 11-ish hour mark because people floating in and out and that sort of stuff, and we think, oh gee, we're going for a long time here. This will probably be our last one. We're having fun. We're not talking about the same thing for 11 hours. We're floating in and out and whatnot. Let's have some fun, but we'll also get to the 12-hour mark because I thought to myself, well, we can't get so close to 12 hours and then not actually hit 12 hours. There was one time, me, because I was basically running, main host and running everything and, operating Skype and all that sort of stuff. I stayed on mic for a lot of that time. But there was times there where I just basically have to say to the other people concerned, we're going for a left-hand turn out up here. No, that's not what I said. I'd have to say, guys, I'm going to be back in a minute. We're going to be back in a minute. And so other people would, talk or whatever. And so on this particular occasion, wasn't my apartment, but everybody in the apartment is involved in the podcast and they're talking and everything like that. So I'm thinking, it's pretty safe for me to go to the toilet. And I went to the toilet with the door open because I'm thinking, well, nobody's going to be walking in because they're all at the all at the desk and all involved with the podcast and everything like that. So I just need to take a quick wee and that sort of thing, and I come back on mic and say, oh yeah, oh that feels a lot better. It's so we're coming into Peterborough now. Yeah, that's a lot better. That was, you can only go for so long before you need to use the facilities, and the reply was something like, yeah, we know, we heard it all. Because of all the microphones and everything around, and actually, because I had the door open, even though I was a long way away from well, in relative terms, long way away from the studio. Long way away from the studio. The reply was basically, yeah, we heard, we saw that you were using the facilities. We heard everything. And so now so we have made it to the end. And we've almost made it to the end of that story. So from then on, I learned the use of being able to mute the microphone. Sometimes you need to be able to talk to somebody without it being on mic. I know with live audio production, live sports commentary and all that sort of stuff, sometimes you don't have any choice. Sometimes you have to, especially if you've got a co-commentator or a co-host or whatever, sometimes you might use hand signals to try and point them in a certain direction or point out something to them without making it obvious that you're trying to steer them in a certain direction. Like you might say, you might want to say, hey Nico, have a look over there, check out what's going on over there. And sometimes you might actually say that in the commentary, oh Nick, check that out on the right hand side, what's going on there, it's all happening over there on the right hand wing. And then other times you might just tap him on the shoulder and then get his attention and then point to the right hand wing and say, oh, what's happening over there, winger in. So sometimes you might actually incorporate it into your commentary, and other times you just want to point, and then sometimes, especially if things are going wrong, you just want to be able to turn all the mics off, let the crowd noise take over and say, oi, this is not going right, or, this is happening right, let's just try to talk about it later, but the person needs to know. Sometimes different people have different hand signals, and I might not know their particular hand signals for certain things. When to go to a break, for instance. It's like a game of charades. It's like, oh, what does, what's that? And then the person might just say again, we need to take a break, or something like that. But you get to know, different things or whatever. But the joy of this situation, the way that I've got things at the moment, is that I can just turn off the mic, I can leave the scenario running, like I did in that scenario. I wasn't going to pause the recording. It was totally fine just to leave you unattended, just watching straight for a moment, just watching the track go by. It's totally fine, you don't need to be talking at you the whole time. But that was interesting times back in the Talk podcast days, and I never thought I'd be doing videos like I am now. I'm just about to actually install a couple of cameras in the future few episodes. You'll actually be able to see the studio set up, and I'm going to do a big episode where I'll show you around the studio and some of the gear that I've got and everything like that. But speaking of gear, that is the Class 801. We went from London King's Cross to Peterborough. We made some good time there. We had some excellent speed going there, and everything went really well. On the next episode, there's going to be in this scenario, there's going to be a lot of testing before we get to the next point in relation to this episode. We've basically seen how the train would look from the factory before it gets delivered to the operator in testing mode. This could be, as I said, like a demonstration unit that you can get the different operators to come out and check it out and say to them, do you want to buy this train? And this is what this train could look like if we deliver it to you in your current colours and everything like that. We will see that in the next episode. Hope you've enjoyed this one. A little bit of chat there, bringing back some memories. We'll even do a scenario. Hopefully everything will go out okay. I'm just about to go and download a new skin for this one and install it. Wish me luck. I've been Simulated Oak. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay behind the yellow line, and tracks are for trains. I actually had to walk up to the door switch, and when I walked up to the door switch, look at this, it's highlighted. So if I walk backwards, what I was trying to do for 7 minutes was try and use it from back here, and just like a laser pointer, just go, okay, zip, bling, I want to open that door. But what I have to do, and it's a lesson I'll never forget in this game, you actually have to walk up to stuff and go, hey, you're a door switch. Doesn't matter where you press the left hand button, function selection, sign off job, not yet, feature hasn't been unlocked yet. Later you'll be able to sign off a finished job and move the bus to the testing bay and back using the door switch. Close this dialog box. So it didn't even want me to open the It just wanted to show me how to do it, but I just spent a good 10 minutes thinking that it wanted me to open the door, and then it says, later you'll be able to sign off a finished job and move the bus to the testing bay and back using the door switch. Close this dialog box.